Welcome back to Travel Like an Oching. First of all, I want to thank you for returning to the program to share some more of your travel hacks. Congratulations on your recent graduation from Bryant College. Just wanted to bring that out in center and wonder if you had a few words about your studies at Bryant and why you're happy to be done, or maybe you're not happy to be done.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be done. I think I'm not the type of person who enjoys doing a ton of tests all the time, so I'm just happy to be in the real world and, like gain some business experience for the future.
Great. Just want to remind you that I'm wishing you much love and luck on your future career goals. And certainly, I'm looking forward to seeing how you're going to grow in the future.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me first ask you. So, obviously, there was a period of time when you were planning on what your vacation destinations would be for your trip. What made you pick Europe?
Europe was somewhere I studied abroad, as I have come on this channel and expressed before. But it was a place that a lot of my other friends who I was doing this trip with hadn't been. And we thought it would be fun to go back. Europe's huge, so a lot of the places I went, I have never been, so there's always more to explore. Even if you've been to a place, you haven't explored the whole place.
Awesome. Great. Talk to me a little bit about how you decided to set up your trip in terms of finance to keep the trip affordable.
So we were traveling on like the epitome of what a budget travel would be. None of us had huge budgets, so we were really trying to pinch every penny we had.
Talk to me a little bit about how you decided to set up your trip.
Because the larger the group, the more ways you can split things, type of thing. So, for flights, in terms of flights, I was lucky enough to have had credits left over from another airline. So, I actually got the most expensive flight from New York to London for free. So, that was amazing. And then we spent entire month only mapping out the cheapest flights and the cheapest combinations of different countries. So that was all done in a Google Sheets, and we had different price tags on each one, understanding which places were the key places that people wanted to go, and then making sure that those places were hit, but doing it in affordable timing. It was a very long process, but I'm glad we did it because, first of all, now you have to do it once, and then you have the template for any trip you want to take, which is amazing. And then for housing, we looked at Airbnbs, hotels, hostels, like anything you could think of, and compared prices across the boards. So basically, when we finished up all of our calculations for flights in Europe, it cost us a total of 360. And then
Is that 360 euros?
dollars, US dollars.
Okay.
Which was great. There was only like one time we had to pay for a seat on a flight, and that was $9, not euros. So it really wasn't that bad. Those unexpected costs with like discount airlines can kind of be a pain sometimes, but definitely getting through those. And then, yeah, for everything else, we just split it 5 ways for most of the time. So it was pretty affordable, and it averaged out to be $35 average a night throughout a 17-day stay, which really isn't that bad.
So great. So a follow-up question to what you just said. So with this type of trip, would you ever advocate just doing a seat of your pants? Just wake up one weekend and say, next week I'm going to do Europe and try to plan that type of itinerary you did.
I mean, everybody's lifestyle and budget's different. So I'm not going to say you can't be that person, but that would be a lot in my eyes. But there are plenty of people who do it. I met people while I was abroad who do it. So they had been traveling for like over a year, just going wherever they wanted. So that's an option too.
How much did you budget for food, wine, and entertainment?
So surprisingly, me going into the trip, I had planned everything down. Like, I personally had planned a lot of the flights and the hotels. So I had put it at a price point that I was comfortable with paying, which really didn't turn out to be all that much. And at that point, I had some grad money, so I didn't restrict myself in terms of food and drink. Those are two things that I really don't like to negotiate when I travel. Those are like my favorite things, to be honest. So I really didn't go into it with a crazy budget. Also am a vegetarian or pescatarian. So a lot of my meals are like salads. They're a lot cheaper in nature. So I was never really concerned about what I was getting. On top of that, my friends and I often would split a lot of meals. Or like we were in Barcelona for part of this trip. So like it's all tapas bars. So it's like there are shareables everywhere. So that made it actually super affordable, but I would say I still averaged, including wine, like booze, like between 20 euros to 25 euros a meal. And I was okay with that. We didn't do a ton of cooking at home, just kind of, we wanted to experience the cuisine. But one of my friends, she took that very literally, and she, like me, very much likes to experience like the cuisine, but she doesn't ask enough questions. So we were at a really nice rooftop restaurant, part of a hotel. It was the type of restaurant that like brought you the fish to see it if you wanted to like have it cooked, brought you the lobster alive to show you like this is the lobster you'll be eating. And she was like, "Wow, that's awesome." Said yes to the lobster. We looked at her, we were like, "Oh, that's great. That looked good. Like, how much was it?" And she goes, "Oh, I don't know." That's your number one problem. If somebody's waving something in your face trying to get you to buy it, it's probably expensive.
I bet you was just like, just prepare it.
Yes, and it was. It was. And mind you, we're from New England, so we have lobster at home. Like, we got that at home. And we were in Italy. We were in Sorrento at the time. The waiter comes back. She goes, "How much was it?" It was 90 euros. So that's like over 100 US dollars that she spent on a lobster pasta dish. So this isn't
Wow.
even like straight up lobster. It was a lobster pasta dish. She said it was not worth it. So
Did you taste it? Was it at least was it tasty?
I didn't taste. She couldn't spare a bite. What? That was expensive. I wasn't about to ask her for that. Each bite was like 20 dollars.
Wow. That is hilarious.
And the surfing wasn't crazy either. It was weird. I don't know. She got a little scammed there, but
Yeah.
she kind of did it to herself.
But what actual apps did you use to help plan this trip?
My best friend was Skyscanner. I've talked about it on here before. I'm very comfortable using that app. I first would look up, well, I would use Google Flights and Skyscanner, but I also did everything I did for research in terms of travel, anything. I did a free trial with a VPN so that nothing was getting tracked and being left in my cookies. That's super, super important. And I did everything in incognito mode. Airlines and booking companies, they are all tracking your data. You agree to it because you have to use a site. But a VPN kind of prevents them from like tracking and storing that data. So it really helps in keeping the prices of things lower. So that was super helpful. We also utilized like the train. So we could have left out of Boston. It would have been a lot easier to we
Okay.
used but we went to JFK because flying out of JFK it was like $400 $500 cheaper.
Wow.
So we used the MBT app and we took public transportation all the way down. Also recommend looking into places that might be a little further out of your way. You have an opportunity to get there for a lot cheaper. Like it saved us like hundreds of dollars by doing that.
Wow.
What people don't the best flights to take over to Europe are really the overnight flights so that you can adjust to the time. So our flights were all late anyway, so we had plenty of time getting there. It wasn't like some big rush. We were fine, and we didn't have any checked bags on top of that, so that helped too. We flew into London, which that's where I studied abroad. Not necessarily because we wanted to go to London, but mostly because after looking at it in the calculator, it's the cheapest place to fly into from our airline and in general. So always look there. We were in London literally one night, and then we made our way to Split, Croatia. From Split, we made our way over to Naples and we stayed in Meta near Sorrento. And then we made our way over to Barcelona, Spain. And then from Spain, we headed over to Lisbon, Portugal. And then from Lisbon, we headed over to Paris, France, and then from France, we made it all the way back to London, and then London to New York. So,
Oh my goodness. How
and
long was your trip?
that was 17 days. So
Oh.
we were on the constant move, but it's like it's the best,
And
really.
so, with that type of itinerary, did you feel pressure to fully experience an area before you moved on, or was it good pacing? Did you feel rushed, or what was your feeling on your pacing?
I don't think it's possible to fully experience a place without living there for a while, to be honest. I think we got such a good like a flavor of what that culture, who those people are, what it's like. And I think that's the most important for when you're old and have money and like want to go back to a place or considering going back to a place. I think it's super important. In terms of ranking them from least liked to most liked, I haven't really thought about this, but my least liked, 10 out of 10, this is a hot take. It was one of the girls on my trip's favorite place, and that's why we went back. Barcelona, Spain
Is your least?
is my least.
Okay.
And my next, I'm gonna go with Naples slash Meta Sorrento area. I love it there. It's beautiful. The best food you'll ever have. Nothing negative, seriously. Naples can be a little sketchy sometimes. I've been in the off season and it was really, really kind of scary. In the summer where there are tourists around, they clean it up a good amount, like to be honest.
What's the
Um,
start of off season? What month?
maybe October.
Okay.
Yeah, October, like the winter's kind of a little bit slower. So, way less people. I actually suggest you go in the winter. It's not that cold. And then next, this is hard. London, London. I've been there. Love it, but
Been there, done that. Yeah.
exactly. And then I'm gonna have to go split Croatia. Beautiful. I loved it there. But the one that really blew me away was Lisbon, Portugal.
Wow.
I had zero expectations for there. I really thought it was kind of gonna be this weird like in between that I didn't like and I was just gonna move on and they wouldn't have good food and like no, I was completely wrong. It was amazing. I wish I had so much more time in Portugal in general to just visit all of those coastal towns and little beaches. It's beautiful. But if you think you're going to Portugal for the water, it's cold. It's freezing. It is so cold. But it's beautiful. Like definitely worth
let's
going.
let's let's stay on that for another few minutes. So, were there locals who were in the water? Was it just that you were kind of a wimpy American and was afraid of the water, or
No,
did you
no,
see not many people in the water and
no.
it was cold?
Yeah, not many people in the water and it was cold. I think that the only people who were in the water were definitely foreigners, like doing cliff diving type thing.
Oh,
Like, yeah. So, no, it wasn't us being a wimp. I'm like from the mountains area. Like, I know what cold water is.
talk to me about the best local food.
10 out of 10, no matter what anybody says, no matter how many times I try and disprove this, Italy has the best food. And I'm not even mad about it. I love their food, but I love their wine. They have the best wine and
Mm.
it's extremely affordable. Almost it's sometimes the same price as the water because you have to pay for water over there.
Oh, that now I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
pretty. Wow, I didn't
Um
know that.
we would order because we're a group of 5, if like 2 or 3 of us wanted some wine, we just ordered a bottle. It was
Wow.
20 euros. So splitting that 3 ways for 3 glasses was way more affordable. Um, and in Italy, we took one of the things we did was we took a cooking class, a gnocchi cooking class.
Uh,
It was fantastic. I'll send you the name so that you can add her here because she was
yes.
amazing. And now we have a family recipe, and it was just it was so perfect. In terms of drinking throughout Europe, something that I have noticed, and I don't know, I think it's because we were in the EU a lot, and there are certain regulations on liquor where they have an automatic stopper. So in the US, they kind of eyeball things, right? They might give you a little more because they need the tip, whatever it may be. Do not order a mixed drink while you're in the EU because it's never worth it. Just always, you're guaranteed to at least get a little buzz or get drunk if you're drinking wine.
So mixed drinks aren't cost effective.
No, no, they're not. Um, so yeah, I was a wine girl on this vacation, which didn't bother me at all. So,
Talk to me a little bit about nightlife.
for nightlife, Barcelona hands down had the best nightlife, best clubs I've ever been to. We arrived on a Sunday and like left on a Thursday, so we were there early in the week. It's always bumping, like for real, always bumping. The one problem is that these clubs will be like, okay, if you get here before midnight, you can have free entry. Some of them. So we could be there before midnight, waiting in their line, and it could be this actually happened to us. It could be like 12:03, and they'll be like, yeah, no, you have to pay 20 euros. And you know what I said? I looked them dead in the face. I said, no, I was here for free. So you just have to know what time, like really plan ahead on those things. Those lines do get kind of crazy as the week goes on, but totally worth it. There's like Barcelona, I can't even recommend one club because there are so many, but also recognize nightlife doesn't get started until like 1 a.m. So plan accordingly. Like these clubs close at 5 a.m. Like it's kind of ridiculous.
Did you feel safe? And what were some of the steps you took as a collective or even individually to maintain your feeling of safety?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I have traveled to some of these areas before and I didn't feel as safe, so it's very interesting. We really stuck together. We always usually had somebody with us, so unless it was the daytime. Sometimes if you wanted to go off and get a little lunch by yourself, go get a little lunch. Like go to a museum if you want to go to a museum. Like branched off occasionally as long as we were in safe areas. We did a lot of research about the areas we were going to and where we were traveling. So a lot of these countries, if you just look it up, have safety ratings and exactly why they're unsafe. So you just have to be super cognizant. I'm a very paranoid person, so I'm constantly like freaking out. So I probably look like a crazy person. If anybody like it's true. If anybody tried it, well, when people tried to come up to me and talk to me, I would honestly, this isn't right. I just pretended like I didn't speak the language they were speaking. And that always worked. Like it's so uncomfortable when somebody's like, and it's like that helps. But ladies always stick together. Hold on to your purse tight.
Well, so that's interesting. So you felt there was safety in numbers, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give like a solo female traveler, and in your instance, is solo Black female traveler?
Yeah, definitely. That is the thing. So, it's a real thing to experience some issues when you're traveling abroad. Luckily this time I only didn't really experience it anywhere other than the airport, which like I was in France and I was literally joking with my friends in the line like, "Oh, last time I was in France because I was in the countryside of France. I was like they made my boyfriend and I take off our shoes, but we were the only ones who had to do it. Like it was weird, like through security and whatever. Not a big deal. I was joking. So my friend Michaela, who is also Black, walked through the security, whatever, the metal detector, and she got pulled aside for a search, like a random search.
Yeah, random, quote unquote,
At
right?
first I was like, okay, like a random search, whatever. And then some stranger goes in between me and her, and then I go. And then it's delayed, but it beeps. And I'm like, two random searches back to back like that? That seems and mind you, there weren't a ton of black there. I don't know if I saw black people, but Then I had to get some of my stuff searched, and I was looking over. I was trying to see like how often these like things go off, because if it's every other person, that seems kind of like not effective at all. The next person it went off for was a woman wearing a hijab. So I just really think that I'm not being crazy when I say France has issues sometimes. So just be careful.
We'll get off of that because other than, especially since they're planning on hosting the Olympics, I
I
hope they
know.
clean that up. Because
I
otherwise that thing would
it's
be going off
they're
like
gonna
a,
have to move. I
yeah.
don't know what they're gonna do. Those airports were backed up. Always leave so much time when you're in France in the airports.
So this transitions into a great question I had for you in terms of how did you handle the language barriers and the cultural differences while you were traveling?
Loved it, actually. I think that my friends and we did a really good job of trying to at least learn a couple things that are like super important, like excuse me, thank you, all of like please and like manners, and trying to speak their language and trying to be like as inclusive as we could be, because we're visiting them. They shouldn't need to know English. I also was traveling with somebody this time who spoke kind of broken French. So in Paris, as long as you actually try and you know a little bit, they really do appreciate it. I know they get a lot of flack for kind of being aggressive about people not knowing their language, and I completely understand it, to be honest. But having somebody in your group who does speak it makes it easier. Everybody's just human. We got along actually like everyone. We made friends with any tour guides we were with, any waiters, anything, and we just asked them questions about their lives. Like if I don't know, you the trip is a learning experience for everybody, So yes, it's really important to know a few things when you go to a country, just to be respectful. But nobody in the world is expecting you to understand and know like 12 different languages from every country you're traveling to. Like that's just it's I'm sure it's possible, but it's not the reality of things. So
Right.
just be respectful. Like you understand the stereotypes about Americans. We're loud. We're fake nice, which I think they don't realize that Americans are just like kind of overly polite. But I don't know. I don't know. I just appreciate people doing their jobs. Like I
Sure.
appreciate you could be doing it way worse.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate that you're like giving me good service type thing. So
Did you try any street food in Europe?
yes, I did.
So let's hear about that.
In London, when we first got there, we went to my favorite thrift area, Brick Lane. Love it there, shout out. And there was street food vendors. They always are there, either outside or inside. And we found this vegan Ethiopian food restaurant. I've
Oh
never
wow,
had.
that's interesting.
Yep. And I had never had Ethiopian food, and neither had my other friend John, who was on the trip. So we just ordered a plate thinking nothing of it. It was amazing. It was so good. And it was something that I didn't think I wanted to try, because it looks
Hmm.
like, I'm not gonna, it's a little mushy looking, like texture wise, might not. No, the flavors, it was amazing. I almost went back when we went back to London to go eat there because it was so good. Another place, my favorite place in Paris, actually. It was our first night. We're dumb. Here's one thing about Europe too. It is light out until like 10:30 p.m. Like you're like, "Oh, it must be, I don't know, 7:30." No. The sun's going down at 10:30 p.m. So we lost track of time a lot of the time. And places close early, like they close. So we found this like corner little hole in the wall like Middle Eastern kind of kebab place, and we went in. The falafel was amazing. They had the best energy ever. They literally looked at us and they were like, if I closed my eyes, you sound like you are like CNN news. And we were like, they were like, your English is so good. And we're like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. So, but the food was great. The price was insane. It was so cheap. Do not sleep on street food. Love
Hmm.
it.
How did you manage your transportation in Europe?
As we all know, transportation is way more available in Europe than it is, or public transportation is way more available in Europe than it is here. Um, and we stuck to public transportation as much as we could. So in London, we took a bus and then took the tube, super basic. Or on the way home, we took the train all the way to or we took the tube all the way to a train, which took us directly to the airport. Like, it's that convenient. Same kind of thing in Italy. You take the train to a bus that brings you directly to the airport. Super straightforward. But some of the harder places to get to, like in Croatia, you have to Uber. You have to Uber, you have to take a taxi. I don't recommend taking a taxi. You can just look it up on Uber, and it's going to be an off-duty taxi using the taxi car to get you somewhere. So look into that. Lyft is big. There's another one that they use that I'm blanking on the name, but a lot of these countries will have discount codes in their airports. Like, I think it was Lyft. The discount codes will be like 70% off your first ride. So if you have a larger party, that makes it super convenient because you can just divide, like, each person can have a first ride, and then you get the discount. And sometimes it was like €3 to go into the city. Like, it was that easy. So that's a little hack. So always look out for those in the airport. They should be advertisements in the airport, especially where there's big rivalry between rideshare companies. So yeah, but other than that, public transportation all the way, mostly.
Right.
It's so affordable there. The most expensive place that will run it up is London.
Mhm.
They are insane because it's all based on zones. They kind of delay the payment method, so you don't really see how much you're spending until like probably a week later. It's kind of messed up, but yeah, that's the only thing you got to be careful of.
Wow, that's great. So I know when you were younger and you traveled, you tended to have big luggage and pack a ton of things. Did that strategy work in Europe, or has your packing habits changed over the years? And first, tell me about your habits, and then talk to me about your travel mates and how they packed. And did how did you guys negotiate that? Did you? I'll let you talk about that.
Yeah, so now that I'm older, I have small luggage and I still pack a lot. So, I don't know. I think I just got better at packing. That's really what happened. No. So for me, I was super concerned about what it was gonna look like on the planes. I didn't want to have to pack a big luggage because I didn't want to check it. It's a nightmare. They're gonna lose your luggage country to country. I don't care what you say, it happens a lot. More
Hmm.
often than you'd think, especially on these budget airlines. It's just not reliable. And I just like to see that I have all my possessions on me, especially in a foreign country.
Hmm.
Um, and I really wanted to play it safe in terms of not getting stopped at the gate for having too big of a bag. So you have to abide by EU regulations rather than the US regulations. The US allows you a bigger bag, like a travel bag, personal item, under your seat than the EU does. So be aware of that if you're going there. So I got the 28-liter Cotopaxi seat bag, which was perfect. It has like built-in dividers, like it's a suitcase, and then I also put in packing cubes. Um, Hack. I clipped my one pair of shoes on the outside of the bag, and then I put the rain shield over the bag and clipped like so many purses so that I had extra storage. Yeah, and it looked like a monster. I also got a neck pillow, like a neck pillow that you wear on
Hmm.
your knee, but it's a hollow neck pillow that you unzip and you can shove a ton of clothes in there and fill it so they don't know that it's storage. It's just a neck pillow, but it was actually keeping like a lot of my outfits. I had over 17 outfits too. Um and 3 sets of pajamas, 4 bathing suits. Like, I was not skimping on this packing. Like, I was stuffing this girl. Gabby and I did the same thing. She was on the same boat as me. She got a different bag, but she only had one. And then our friend, and same with John too, one bag. but he's a man, so I don't really count it. And I don't count that. My other two girlfriends, they decided they were gonna have two of those bags that I was telling you about, the Cotopaxi. So, or one each, I guess. And then they also bought one shareable luggage that they rolled around. So that one held bigger items, clunkier items that just didn't fit, that they didn't really want to deal with. So they were willing to split the cost of having more room. You're dragging it through hundreds of years old roads, like
Yeah,
you
the,
are
the
going up
cobblestones,
hills.
so it's tearing up the wheels on your luggage.
It was horrible. Like, and they were like switching off ish, kind of
Oh,
sometimes. Like, I don't know. It's just a lot. It seemed like a force. But I will say I'm black, so I have the like luxury of wearing box braids. So I didn't have to pack a ton of conditioner and shampoo. I didn't have to pack hair products to make sure that my hair was done all the time. So I just had that travel size bag of toiletries, and not everybody can do that. So, like, I know Gabby and Grace, they really struggled with like being able to do their hair the way they wanted to, just because because we decided to go with the small backpacks situation, there wasn't enough room for all those toiletries. So, if you're somebody who needs a lot of toiletries, I don't suggest it. But if you're somebody who can get by with a little bit of makeup, a little bit of whatever, or if you're willing to buy it country to country, which really didn't wouldn't make sense for us because we were only spending like at max 4 days in a place, um, then you can, I guess, buy it. But it was easy to just have my hair in a protective style and not worry about it. We are in our early 20s. We were going out to clubs. We were going to bars. We were meeting a lot of people. You
mm,
want to feel your best. You want to be able to take pictures that you feel good and look good in, that you can cherish for a really long time.
that's a
So
good point.
to be honest, I wouldn't judge. Like, I know I had it easy because I could just wake up in the morning, put some mousse in my hair, and it was good to go. But for somebody like Gabby and Grace, it was really a struggle because they didn't have heat products with them. They couldn't like straighten, curl. They were doing the same style and it really bothered them. Like, that's like something that matters to people. So
Mm.
I don't think it's necessarily it depends on what you want out of a trip and who you are. Like, I don't think that really, I don't know. I don't have a solid opinion on that. Like, I understand if you want to bring a lot of toiletries. Like, I get it.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that. Thank you for that answer. Were there any challenges on coming home other than not wanting to leave your vacation?
Coming home, so we flew JetBlue, which is international apparently. It was amazing. Has the most leg room in all international like or transatlantic travel, just so you know, just in case. And it was amazing. The food was great. Um it was super easy, seamless. No delays, no nothing. It just sucked because we were up at 6 a.m. and didn't get home until 11 p.m.
Mm.
And there was really the longest time we had to wait between those, just because our train ride was scheduled a little bit later, was 2 hours, which really wasn't that bad. We were in Penn Station and we just sat and ate food, but it was a long day. I think I slept for literally 16 hours the next day. So definitely give yourself a recovery day when you get home. But no, we were super lucky and we planned very accordingly. So I think it paid off.
Great. Do you have any last tidbits or words of wisdom for potential fellow young travelers who are looking to stretch their boundaries and talk a little bit about what some of your future plans are in terms of travel?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely might have said something very similar the last time I was asked this question in London. But please don't be scared to travel. Just do it, even if it's alone. I stayed in my first hostel. I met the most amazing people who I am close friends with to this day. And I think it's so important to see the world and do it young. I know a lot of people are like, "No, I want to get into making money so that I can travel when I'm old." There are things that limit you when you're old, including health. You never know where you're going to be or what your situation is. So really try and travel in the now and enjoy yourself. I also recommend there's like $10 cost on any flight you buy. Get it if you need to cancel or change plans. You never know what's going to happen. So just be aware of that. Include that in your cost. But yeah, don't be scared. And things aren't always going to go right. No, it's traveling. So expect them to go wrong sometimes and just take it on the chin and move forward. That's really all you can do.
And any future plans of travel? Where would you like to go, and what do you
Yes.
think you're going to end up in the next 10 years? And that might be
So
too far to think out, but what
I
are some
know
of the
that
other
was fun.
destinations?
In the short term, my next big trip will probably be to visit my little sister as she studies abroad in Australia. So that'll be a really big one. I opened a new travel credit card, and I basically paid for all the meals during this current trip. So I ended up making enough money that I can get free flights to Australia. So that's another thing. Credit cards are your friends. Work with travel credit cards and just boost up those points. But yeah, that's my next plan. My boyfriend and I were talking about going to Patagonia, that area. So that's another one I really want to do. So yeah.
Well, thank you once again for taking some of your time to share your travel tips on this channel with me. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your future adventures, and you always are welcome to return to give us updates of your journeys. On behalf of our guest, this is Eric Ching saying, until next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Remember to like and subscribe and click that bell